Welcome back. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about something I think everyone has felt. That feeling you get when a system you are really trying to stick with, a plan, a routine, just completely falls apart.
You know, when a plan fails, what's our first instinct? A lot of the time, we blame ourselves, right? We think things like, I got lazy, or I just lost my motivation. It really feels like a personal failure, like the problem is with us.
But I want you to consider a totally different idea today. What if, most of the time, the problem isn't you at all? What if it's the design of the system you are trying to use? What if the system itself was actually designed to fail from the very beginning?
Okay, so let's get into it. If you open up your workbook to lesson 5.2, you'll see the While You Watch section right at the top. For this first task, as we go through the common reasons systems fail, I just want you to write down the two that really stand out to you.
So let's look at some of these common culprits. First, a lot of systems fall apart because they rely on you just remembering everything. Nothing's written down. Another big one, they're designed for perfect days. Days where nothing ever goes wrong. They also tend to ignore your actual energy levels, just assuming you're always on. And some systems just depend on motivation, which comes and goes, instead of a solid structure. And finally, a huge one. They have zero buffer. So one tiny interruption can bring the whole thing crashing down.
So think about those for a second. Which two of those sound the most familiar to you? This is a great time to hit pause and just jot them down in your workbook.
All right, let's look at that next question on your page. Why is a system that only works on perfect days pretty much guaranteed to fail? Well, think about it. A perfect day plan assumes you never hit snooze, your Wi-Fi always works, and you never feel tired. But life isn't like that, is it? A system that needs everything to go exactly right is incredibly fragile. The moment one little thing goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, the whole system collapses.
So, in your own words, just explain why that kind of system is basically built to fail from the start. Now, this next idea is so important because it can free up so much mental energy. The question is, what does it actually mean when we say a good system doesn't rely on memory? Well, it's pretty simple. An effective system is all about getting information out of your head and putting it somewhere you can see it, like a planner, a sticky note, or to-do list on your phone. It's there to help your memory, not force you to carry the whole load yourself.
See, the whole point is that a system should reduce your cognitive load. That's just the amount of stuff you have to keep track of in your head. It shouldn't add to it. So take a moment now to pause, and in your own words, write down your definition of that idea.
Okay, let's move on to the next question, which is all about interruptions. How should a real system handle them? Well, unlike those fragile systems that shatter with one surprise, a strong system actually expects them. It knows a friend might text or a practice might run late. So it builds in a buffer, a little bit of extra time or flexibility, so that you can adapt to the unexpected instead of just giving up on the whole plan.
All right, last question in this section. The idea is that good systems match your energy patterns. What does that really mean? Well, it's all about working with your body's natural rhythm, not fighting against it. It means you do the hard, focused work when you know you have more energy, and you save the easier, simpler tasks for when your energy is naturally lower. A good system knows you're not a robot. Take a second to think about your own energy during the day. What does this idea mean for you, personally? Go ahead and pause here and write down your thoughts. So now, we're going to shift from just understanding these concepts to actually applying them to your own life. In the Apply It section of your workbook, we're going to act like a doctor and diagnose one of your own systems that tends to break down.
So first, I want you to pick one system from your life. It could be your homework routine, how you get ready for bed, or how you plan to study for a big test. On your page, just finish this sentence. The system I'm choosing is, and write it down.
Now, let's get really specific. Think about when this system usually fails you. Is it on days you have a game? Is it on weekends? Maybe it's just whenever you get home late and you're feeling exhausted. Write down a sentence describing the exact conditions when this system tends to fall apart.
Okay, now you'll see that same checklist again. This time, I want you to go through and put a check mark next to all of the problems that apply to the specific system you chose. This is where we stop blaming ourselves and we start looking at the design flaws.
All right, so now let's put it all together.
Based on the boxes you just checked, what's the real issue? In the space there, I want you to write one clear sentence that explains a key reason this system isn't holding up. For instance, you might write, "My homework system fails because it assumes I have tons of energy every single day right after school."
And this brings us to the final, and I think the most important part of the lesson, the reflection. We've diagnosed the problem, now it's time to start thinking about a solution. This is where we start to change the story.
So the question is, what is one small thing you could change to give this system a better chance? This doesn't have to be some huge, massive overhaul. Maybe it's just adding a visible to-do list. Maybe it's building in 10 minutes of buffer time. Or maybe it's as simple as moving a task to a time of day that better matches your energy.
So just think of one practical, small adjustment. Remember, this isn't about finding the perfect solution. It's just about finding a better one. Let's pause one last time for you to write down your reflection.
So let's do a quick recap. The most important idea from this lesson is that when a system collapses, it's usually a problem with the system's design, not a personal failure on your part. Strong systems get information out of your head, they plan for real life by expecting interruptions, and they work with your energy levels. When you analyze a system instead of blaming yourself, you can actually find those design flaws and start making things better.
Okay, now go ahead and take a moment to finish up any remaining parts of the Lesson 5.2 page in your workbook. In our next lesson, we're going to take this even further. We'll move from making small fixes to learning how to replace weak systems with much, much stronger ones.